Welcome to my recipe book with me, Tarika. So, a Christmas dinner for me is just incomplete without a good roast chicken. And the recipe that I'm going to share with you today is a recipe that my mom and I work on every year, and it's super, super reliable. There's a special ingredient that we use to make this roast chicken, and that's this gondoraj, a lime that we get all the way from Calcutta. And we make it in a vintage rotisserie, one that is about 20 years older than me, so that's seriously vintage. Now, there are a couple of components to putting this roast chicken together, but it's not something that's very complicated. Just break it down into 3 steps. I'm going to get started with the marinade first. So I've got some garlic that I've chopped up here. This is about 10 small cloves of garlic. This recipe is, very Indian in nature. It's got a lot of masala-ish flavors to it. So I'm just going to pop all of this into my tiny little mixie. So I've got about 2 inches of ginger, and now I'm going to zest up the gondoraj. This is just such a fragrant lime, right? And just adds so much flavor. I'm just going to zest it. So half of the zest I'm just going to pop into this mixer here. I'm going to put the rest of the zest into a separate bowl where I've got some chopped up celery. This is going to be the stuffing for the bird. There's not a lot of stuffing that goes into it because chicken tends to have a smaller cavity. But I just want to pack in as much flavor as I can. And speaking of flavor, once I've got the zest, I also want the juice of this gondoraj. Now, I'm going on about this gondoraj, but if you can't find gondoraj, just feel free to use regular lemon or lime, whatever you have available to you. I mean, I'm crazy enough to get people traveling from Calcutta to bring this for me. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of sea salt, just 1 teaspoon of some ground pepper, and 1 teaspoon of chili powder. This is just to give it color, but the spice will come from the chili flakes. But I'm going to add only about half a teaspoon, not too much, because we've already got plenty of ginger and garlic in, and I don't want it to be too strong. We're nearly done. The last bit, just 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you want to use another oil, canola, any neutral flavored oil also is fine. I just like olive oil, so that's what I tend to add. That should be good. So I'm just going to blend this marinade together in my mixie. But I have to tell you that if my mom was watching this right now, she would be very alarmed because she does this in a pestle and mortar very patiently. But patience is really not my virtue. So I'm just quickly going to blend this together. So it's a slightly chunky paste and not a runny paste, but that's exactly what I want because it'll make it easier to rub it onto the chicken. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. Okay, now for the stuffing, you've seen me use the celery and add some gondoraj zest to it. I'm just going to add a little bit of chopped up onion. This is regular red onion. I'm just going to use about half an onion only, nothing more. And season it only very slightly with salt because there's plenty that's going to be on the outside, very little, and a tiny pinch of pepper as well. Aren't you surprised I'm not using chili flakes here? Well, I've kind of learned that restraint is a good thing. Well, we'll see. So just toss this up and that's it. You don't have to do much more. Just set it aside. So the marinade is done, the stuffing is done. I'm just going to bring the bird now. It's just been resting in my kitchen. I'm just going to quickly bring it here. So here's the bird that I'm going to be working with. This chicken is skinless because that's really how most Indians tend to eat chicken, without the skin, which is kind of good in a way, which means less fat. So I'm just going to start working with this now. And guys, there's just no non-messy way of doing this. You just have to get in, get your hands dirty and do this. There's a lot of hand washing involved, I should warn you. Before I kind of massage this marinade onto the chicken, I'm just going to make some cuts, some incisions really, just to make sure that the marinade makes its way inside the chicken and we get some really good flavor. Now, a good thing to remember here when you're making these incisions is that you want to move and make these incisions along the fiber, not against it, right? So just get a feel of it. We're creating pockets of flavor. Incision here. So now I'm just going to take this marinade and stuff it into these cavities that I've created here. Use the rest to just massage it onto the chicken. It looks a little messy right now, but it's just going to taste so yum. You're not going to regret going through all of this. So I don't usually leave the chicken to marinate for some time. This marinade is quite flavor packed and strong in flavors. So I just give it a little bit of time for it to rest while the rotisserie is preheating, and then I just put it in the rotisserie. Okay, I'm going to quickly dash off to wash my hands. You need to do that when you're making this. I'm going to wash my hands before I stuff the bird. Just lift this, and into the cavity will go this stuffing. And now I'm going to wash my hands again before I truss the bird. Now trussing is just tying up the ends and making sure that the bird doesn't flay around the rotisserie when it's cooking. And I've got some kitchen string here. So what I first do is tie the legs up. And you just want to get it really tight. There's no perfect way of trussing it. It's just something you can watch how I'm doing it, but it's something that you will learn only when you try doing this yourself. And you've guessed it, when I'm done tying this up, I will rush to wash my hands and then preheat my rotisserie. There. That is done. Okay, so I'm back with this rotisserie rod, and we're just in the final stages of putting this chicken in to cook. My rotisserie is preheating to 150 degrees Celsius. That's just a nice even temperature. It takes about 45 to 50 minutes to cook completely. So this is not very complicated at all. You can see here that on one end I've got this already screwed on. So I'm just going to put this through, and on the other end, just tightly screw this on. You definitely need to do this very tightly. That's it. So this is done and ready to go into my rotisserie for the next 45 to 50 minutes. I'm just going to go to my kitchen now. So I'm going to let the chicken cook at 150 degrees Celsius from anywhere between about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Around the 40-minute mark is when I generally stick the meat thermometer deep into the chicken to check the internal temperature. And you just know it's done when it touches between 73 to 80 degrees Celsius. The chicken is really well rested, and I would advise all of you to just let it rest and cool down for some time, because even this rotisserie rod is extremely hot to handle when it comes out of the oven. Let it cool and then pull it out of the rod and cut the string. Just be sure to get all of the string off. I really like this recipe because, you know, it's a little Indian with all the masalas that I've put in, but not entirely. You'll find that it's a very simple marinade that comes together with just all the ingredients that you have lying around at home. So all the string is off. I'm going to place this lovely chicken on a bed of romaine lettuce. So guys, clearly it's not Christmas until I've worn this hat. Do you like it? I think it's quite cool. Anyways, you guys tuck into this very special family recipe of mine. I'm going to tuck into this chicken right now. Merry Christmas.
Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Nick Saraf's Food Log. Today we're doing a world favorite, a food that's eaten in nearly every country, and it has its own variations depending on which country it's made in. Today we're going to make it a pizza. Now I'm going to be making a stuffed cheese pizza today. So for making the pizza base, we have 500 grams of flour. I'm going to be adding 8 to 9 grams of salt to it, Now, let's make a well in the center and add about 40 to 45 milliliters of olive oil and 445 milliliters of water. Now let's bring this together to form a paste. Once it is nice and pasty, we add in about 18 to 20 grams of instant yeast and continue mixing till it forms a firm dough ball. Firm but supple. When the dough comes together, dust the surface and knead the dough for another 10 minutes. When the dough has become soft, smooth and supple and it doesn't stick to our hands anymore, it's done. So we keep it in a clean bowl, wrap that up with some plastic, and we keep this aside for half an hour for it to rise. So now that we have half an hour for the dough to rise, let's make the marinara sauce that will go on top of the pizza. And for this, we need a saucepan on medium to high heat. I'm going to pour in a good quantity of olive oil. Let the oil heat up. We add a whole chopped onion and we cook it till it's translucent. Once the onion is cooked, I will add in minced garlic. Now you can add any amount of garlic you want. Now we add a few leaves of basil to the mixture and cook it for just a few seconds. And now we add a can of pureed tomatoes. Now this is about 4 tomatoes and its juice. The tomatoes are skinned and whole. We just cook them on their own like that. And when the sizzling comes down, we take a masher and mash them in. When it is appropriately mashed, add in salt, crushed black pepper, and dry powdered oregano. Give it a mix. Since I love spice, I put in a little bit of cayenne pepper with the oregano. Now put in just a touch of water and let it come to a gradual boil. When it comes to a boil, add in a few more leaves of basil. There we go. And let it continue boiling for 1 minute. And the sauce is done. Now that our dough has doubled in size and it looks beautiful, let's take it out of the bowl, keep it to the side and split it in half. And let's cover it with a dry cloth. Let's take this piece of dough and pull it slightly to make a circular shape. Lightly brush the surface with some flour and some on the top of the dough. And let's roll it out. Now I'm going to be using a specialty cooking pizza base for making this pizza. We will brush this with some oil, any oil. Make sure you brush it properly, and this is well oiled. Stretch my base over this. Give it a good roll inside. Trim off the excess. And make sure you pull it towards the edges and make a nice thin crust. So when you make an ordinary pizza, you will be putting the sauce on top, whatever topping you wish, cheese, and in the oven it goes. But since we're making a stuffed crust pizza, I will be making another circle and putting it on top of this. But before I do that, I have to fill this up with our marinara sauce. and a mixture of cheddar and mozzarella cheese. And now I shall add some cheddar cheese and some grated mozzarella. Make sure it doesn't go over the edges. We start to work with the second piece of dough that we had reserved under a cloth. Same process, lightly dust the surface, lightly dust the top of the dough, pull it, make it circular, and roll. Now that we're done with this, we get the already done base and put it on top. Trim off the excess. Pinch the base to seal the filling inside. Once this is done, we add the sauce on top of it. Be generous with the sauce. Now, since this pizza is going to be at 200 degrees in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, I'm not going to add the cheese on top right now. Otherwise, the cheese will surely burn. So, let's just put it as it is for 20 to 25 minutes at 200 degrees in the oven. This pizza is about 3/4 done, and now we'll top it off with a mixture of cheddar and mozzarella. And now back to the oven this goes for 10 more minutes. And our pizza pie is done. Now we leave it aside to cool for about 10 minutes. So let's cut into this beauty now. So there you have it, a double stuffed cheese pizza. Bon appetit! Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Saraf's Food Log. Today we're making a dish that is almost synonymous with Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and also the Republic of Ireland for that matter. We're making the famous shepherd's pie. So let's start with making the lamb filling for the shepherd's pie. I've kept a pot of stock boiling. It's just got bones that were given to me by the butcher as a gift. Strange gifts I receive. So, we put a pan on medium to high heat and pour in some oil. Once the oil is heated up, we add 2 diced carrots. Make sure you don't dice them too big or too small. Let the carrots cook for a while. Once the carrot is half cooked, we add 2 chopped onions and we cook that further. But we crush them before we add them. So let's crush some garlic. And now we cook this a little further. Now we add 2 stalks of celery, diced. This would be followed by peas. And cook them further. Now it's time to add the main ingredient of a shepherd's pie, the minced lamb. I have with me a kilo of minced lamb that I will add to this mixture. Once the lamb is cooked, we add a little bit of tomato paste and cook it with the lamb. Time to add a little bit of cayenne pepper and some dry rosemary. Mix it together. And now we add some lamb stock. If you wish, you can also use chicken stock. A few tablespoons of flour and a bit of butter. Yes, that was a bit of butter. Mix it all up. Now we add a bit of Worcestershire sauce, and some salt and crushed black pepper. And the lamb filling is done. It's time to make the mashed potatoes that will go on top of the lamb filling in the shepherd's pie. For this, I have a pot of cold water to which I'm adding 6 to 8 skinned diced potatoes. And now we boil this cold water so that it eventually cooks the potatoes as it boils. We will cover this with a lid and let it boil away to glory. The potatoes have boiled, and it's time to drain the water. Let's go. Once you've drained all the water out, put the potatoes back in the pot and put it on a low flame. This is just so that the little bit of water that's left in the pot dissolves and we have dry potatoes, which will make an excellent mash. Once the water is dried, we take that off the heat and we mash it with a masher. To this, I'm going to add about 200 milliliters of heavy cream. Mix it all together. When the cream is incorporated, we add in a bit of butter. Again, that is a bit much maybe, but still technically a bit. To this, I will add 2 egg yolks. Mix it together. To make lumpless, smooth mashed potatoes, the best thing to do is pass them to a fine sieve. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Not too much, just a bit of mashed potato to begin with, and rub it through the sieve until it passes through the other side. So when you're done passing the mashed potato through the sieve and you have a nice smooth mash on your hands, we add some salt, some crushed black pepper, and we grate in some cheddar cheese. And now we mix everything together. And the mashed potatoes are done. Now it's time to assemble the shepherd's pie in a casserole dish. I have with me a glass casserole dish. It can be rectangular, round, glass, ceramic, it's all good. It has been buttered. In this I will add the lamb mince at the base. Make it as flat as possible on the top, followed by a layer of mashed potatoes on the top. Now let's make a pattern with the fork. Grate some cheddar cheese on top. And now we place this in a preheated oven at 200 degrees for 20 minutes. Now that this is done, we let it cool for 10 minutes before we cut a piece. So there you have it, a British and Irish delicacy at your fingertips. Have a good meal, guys. Cheers. Hello, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Saraf's Food Log. Today I am feeling extremely lazy, and I'm going to make a lazy man's meal today, a chicken leek and potato casserole. So the first thing we do is we put a saucepan, on medium to high heat and pour in a good amount of oil. When the oil heats up, we add in some chopped garlic and some chopped onion. Bring it together. We cook it till the onion is translucent. Now we add in some chopped carrots and some chopped celery. Cook it further. We add in some mushrooms, halved and quartered, and cook them through. Once the vegetables are cooked, we take it off the heat into a different bowl and leave them aside just for a while. Then we put the same saucepan back on the heat, medium to low this time. Don't bother if there's some vegetable left inside the bowl, that's absolutely fine. We'll just add flavor. To this, we will add about 2 tablespoons of butter and 2.5 tablespoons of flour. Once a roux is formed with the melted butter and the flour, and you can see bubbles in there, which means it's cooking, we add in a litre of cold milk to the hot roux. And continue whisking till the sauce thickens. Make sure the heat is not too high. When the sauce thickens, we take it off the heat and stir in the vegetable mixture. And of course, add a bit of salt and a bit of crushed black pepper. Stir everything together. When everything is combined, we keep the sauce aside and use it later. Now let us make some chicken and leek mixture that will go in the casserole. For this, I have a pan on medium to high heat, which will be covered in oil. Once the oil is heated up, we add some chopped leeks. To this I will add 3 diced chicken breasts. And we cook the chicken till it's no longer pink on the inside. And now we add in some apple cider vinegar, some Worcestershire sauce, a bit of mustard, some paprika, crushed chili peppercorn, dried rosemary, dried oregano, dried parsley, salt, and crushed black pepper. And we mix everything together. If cooked further, this in itself would make a good meal, but we're making a casserole. So, in goes a bit of butter and a generous tablespoon of flour. Cook to incorporate. Make sure you don't overcook the chicken because this is going to go back into the oven to cook. And now we take it off the heat and keep it aside. And now it's time to layer the casserole. For this I have a beautiful casserole dish. I'm going to line this dish with some melted butter. And now we put in our first layer at the base, thinly sliced potatoes. Here we go. it with some melted butter. Now we ladle in some of our prepared sauce. Add in the chicken. Sprinkle on some grated cheddar cheese. And repeat the same process. And we end with a layer of potato slices. And top with some grated cheddar cheese. And now we put this in the oven for about 20 minutes at 200 degrees. When it's done, we keep it to cool for 10 minutes before we cut a piece. Now that 10 minutes are up and this has cooled down appropriately, let's dig into it. So there you have it, a chicken, potato and leek casserole that's as hearty as it can get. Bon appétit! Hello my lords, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Saraf's Food Log. Today we're doing an Italian favorite, that is spaghetti with meatballs in marinara sauce. Let's start with making some Italian meatballs. So we have with us about 500 grams of chicken mince, to which I'm going to add oregano, parsley, about a tablespoon of sweet paprika powder, grated Parmesan cheese, salt, and crushed black pepper. Mix it all together. Add 2 whisked eggs. Mix it all up. And finally, about 200 grams of breadcrumbs. Mix it all up. And now I'm going to oil my hands so that the meat doesn't stick to it. Take about a tablespoon of chicken mince and roll it to form a meatball. Now that we're done making these, let's fry them up. Let's get the pan up on medium to high heat and heat up about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of oil. When the oil is heated up, we carefully lower in meatballs one at a time. Cook well on all sides till golden brown. And when they're done, we take them off on some absorbent paper. So I have with me some marinara sauce. It's exactly the same sauce that I made in the lasagna episode. Check the description below for the link. To this, I'm going to be adding the meatballs. Here we go. And mix it all together. And then heat it together. And the meatball marinara sauce is ready. So let's cook the spaghetti. In a pot, I have kept some water, which has been salted and oil has been added to it. Now, when this water boils, we will add the spaghetti without breaking it in half. Now that the spaghetti is done, we take it off the heat, refresh it in some cold water after draining the water in a decanter, and rub in just a bit of oil so that it doesn't stick together. And now let's get it together on a plate. Top it up with some grated Parmesan cheese. So there you have it, spaghetti with a meatball marinara sauce. Bon appétit!